Well, guys, hello there. This is Kurum Shafiq. I'm an IELTS trainer for Kapil Guru Teks Academy, and today we will be discussing about the introduction to IELTS and the listening module, of course. So, guys, this course focuses on the complete preparation of IELTS exam from the very beginning and from the scratch. We would be focusing on what are the key factors which determines the overall band scorage of the IELTS exam. So, let's begin. See, guys, IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. This test is basically is checking your communication skills in English. This test has two formats. First is academic and second is general training. Academic test focuses on the academic abilities of an individual who is planning to move out for further studies. And general training is focused on mostly on general skills, general conversational skills, general written skills for those individuals who want to move out and migrate to other countries for their job purposes. The basic difference between these two exams is the written module or the writing module. In the academic training, we have report and essay. In the general training, we have letter and essay. Formats are almost the same. The word limit is almost the same. Just there's one difference which stands out academic from general. These modules in the IELTS, they are testing four key factors. First is listening, reading, writing, and speaking. So IELTS or the Cambridge and IDP, they're checking for an individual. If they compare an individual from a native speaker, an average individual who is born in a native country and his level of speaking, reading, writing, and listening has been calibrated as a benchmark for IELTS. The test is scored on a 9-band scale, which 9 is the highest and 0 is the lowest. But to get a decent, I would say 6.5 band is considered a decent band. If you want to go out for your master's or bachelor's for academic purposes, and a band of 7 to 7.5 is considered decent in the case if you want to move out or immigrate or you are going for job purposes. All the four modules, the band ranges from 0 to 9, and at last, the average of all the bands you scored in all four modules is has been taken as average, and that's your overall score. Now we would be moving towards the listening module. I consider listening to be the easiest module. So let's begin. Listening module, or that's what I call the power of mind and ears. The test duration is 40 minutes, and the questions are 30 plus 10. The difference between other modules and listening module is that there is a recording, an audio recording, which is played, and we have to answer the questions accordingly. The basic difference between academic and general training is that in the academic part, which focuses more on discussions, one person speaking, again, social discussions, and a lecture. In the general training part, we have social context. Again, we have two social contexts, education training and academic. So, in the first part of the discussion, we mostly hear conversations between business executives. We are hearing a conversation between students. We are hearing conversation which are mostly based on technicalities. Then the part two comes. One person is narrating something. It might be academic thing. It might be some life experiences or whatsoever. Then comes the discussion part. The most common theme of the discussion is that two students are discussing about some project work for the university. And at last, the lecture. The lecture is nothing but it's a predetermined topic through which the instructor or the speaker is trying to convey technical terms, and we have to find the technical terms. The focus on IELTS academic listening module is they're trying to find that are you an overall developed individual in terms of listening skills that you can go into social gatherings, you can go into casual gatherings. At the same time, you can go into academic gatherings and you can find the words and you can comprehend the meaning behind those words. Moreover, in the general training, it is more focused on social context, conversations, Apart from that, then there is education training. The audio script is mostly based on training part, HR, sales, or whatsoever the cases may be. And then last is academic in nature. For both, the techniques are the same and everything is the same. The preparation tricks and tips are the same as well. So let's go further. But guys, keep in mind the recording is played once and once only. You cannot pause the recording, you cannot fast forward it, you cannot slow it, you cannot rewind it. You only have one shot in this. So in this module, we will see the tips and tricks how to score the maximum bands with the minimal efforts, and I'll try to keep things crisp and sharp to the point because that's what we all need. Because the internet is filled with so much of information, so much of confusion, so much of, uh, I would say, brainstorming that most people forget the basics. Tips for this module. I've divided the tips into four parts. Before the exam, in the exam before you listen, in the exam while you are listening, and after the exam, after you listen. Why I've divided these four parts, the tips? Because before the exam, we have time to prepare. So first tips are for those who are started preparing. Then the second tip comes is what should you do when you're sitting in your exam hall but the recording hasn't been played. Third one, while you're listening, the recording is going on in your headphones and you are listening to it. And the final is what should you do after you listen to make sure that the errors are the least and at the same time the productivity and storage is the most. The first tip is before the exam, pronunciation of confusing words and numbers. Those words who have similar suffixes and prefixes, we should practice it more often. Why? Because the thing is, sometimes these pronunciations might lead us into confusion and mental toil. So, I would suggest people who just started preparing to listen to the similar suffixes and prefixes. For example, here, the example is 13, 14, 15, and so on. So the suffix is teen. Yeah. Sometimes people have a challenge in finding the right number. 16 and 60. That is a common thing. Or 30, 40, 50, 60. Here, the suffix is T. And the words which have similar pronunciation, for example, peace and peace. For example, world peace, Peace. And then peace, Piece. They both sound similar, but at the same time, they're both different words. And an error to understanding these words might lead to a score deduction. The better part is that there's no negative marking in IELTS. So I would suggest every one of you who's preparing and attempting this exam, do not leave your sheets empty. Write something down. Because if you don't try, if you don't write something, the chances of you not scoring is 100%. But if you write something, the chances of you being wrong is 50%. So I would suggest you to take the risk. Now comes the first type of questions, that is the fill in the blanks. Guys, in any question, any module, in anything in the IELTS, you have to read the instructions. The instructions is the key. Instructions are written in big, bold block letters. And you need to understand why it's written what it's written. So, the first thing is there will be 10 questions in one part. It goes same for reading. And the most important tip, do not cross the parameters of the instructions. For example, the instruction for IELTS can be a couple of things. The first instruction may be one word only. So for that, you have to write one word only. You cannot write more than one word. For example, my name is Khurram Shafiq. So Khurram Shafiq is considered as one word. Yes? Pen holder. Most of you will think that it's a two word. No, it's a one word. Pen holder, it's an object. Happiness, sadness. These are one words only. So when the question demands you to write one word, you have to just write one word. And if in the recording, if the thing is plural, you have to write in plural. If the thing is singular, you have to write in singular. The thing is, first you find out what the answer is, then you read the question, and accordingly you have to use the tenses as well. Tenses, active or passive voice, or whatsoever the cases may be. And just remember the spellings. Spelling, if your spelling is wrong, it is considered as a wrong answer. Apart from that, the questions in the any module, whether it be reading, listening, writing, the question will come in also always in an order. The the tip is that the questions are not jumbled, so you don't have to worry about anything. That it's whether the first question is coming after the fifth or whatsoever the cases may be. So the tip here is that you need to find where your answer lies. So if you miss second question, you know the second question will come after first, and it will be before the third. So your area of focus should be between first and third. Another tip: if you miss something, move on. Don't cling to it. Now moving further. While you are in the exam and while you are listening, just listen. Don't you dare doing something else, because human mind is not a multitasking thing. Our focus can only be laser pointed at one thing at a time. So do not read, listen, and write at the same time. This is a common malpractice which I have seen over my experience with students. They try to do multiple things at a time and they miss the subtle details, which leads to a lot of bands being dropped from their portfolio. When are you writing? Just write it. When you're listening, just listen. When you're reading, just read. This tip will not only help you for your IELTS preparation, but it will also reinforce the fact that whatever we are doing, we have to do it 100%. Sections 1 and 2, write your answers. Don't erase or check when the recording is being played, because you will get time in the later when you're transferring your answers. If you aren't sure that what did you hear or what did you listen, write the confusion, write the both of the things which you're confused in, 17 or 70. At last you will get a chance to check it back. For sections 3 and 4, try closing your eyes and just listen. Visualize information. For example, if I say apple, the first things that comes to your mind is a red, shiny, lustrous apple. Yes? With one leaf and a little bit of branch. That's what we visualize, right? If you see a if you see a red Ferrari, for example, a red Ferrari Spider model, what do you see first? You see the red color. Then you see the logo, the emblem of Ferrari company. That is a horse, a stallion, on two of its legs. Then what comes to your mind? You see the iconic headlights. Then we see the vertical doors. Then we see the low-lying body of the car. And finally, the voice, the noise that engine makes. So, in order to visualize, you need to see the subtle details, and you have to have that very keen eye on a day-to-day basis in order to score. Why? Because these skills are subconscious skills. Yes, you can improve them. Yes, we can learn things, we can learn tips and tricks. But at the end of the day, it's all about how our mind is programmed. So visualize while you listen in the time given. Spelling is important, as I mentioned earlier. Check at the end, not while you're listening. Plurals, singular, S or ES, princesses, churches. Yeah? Then comes the symbols. If it says 20 euro, you have to write 20 with a euro symbol. If it says $10, you have to write $10 symbol. If there's a percentage, you have to write the percentage symbol. And one of the most important tips in this particular section is trust what you hear. Trust your gut. Trust what is being played. Why? Because if you're not trusting your words, you're not trusting your hearing, you're missing out on very big things. So trust comes through practice. If you're practicing every day, your trust upon yourself, upon your judgment is reinforced in a better way. If you aren't, well, the chances of you trusting what you're hearing is lowered exponentially. Unknown words, the best guesses. Think about the best guesses. Look at the suffixes and prefixes of these words and try to contemplate what it might mean. For example, I give you the word defenestration. I know some of you haven't heard this word before in your whole life. And if I tell you the meaning, it's a bit funny. Defenestration is the process of throwing someone out of a window. Yes, you heard me right. Throwing someone out of the window. So most people who aren't aware of this word, what you can do is you can check the suffixes and prefixes. Fenestration, so it means it's a part of a process, right? Reflection, it's also a process. So the suffix tion is used mostly for processes, and the prefix is de. So de means to lose, to cut off. Yes, to have to be not a part of. So it is something, a process in which something is being taken off. So use those spelling patterns. Know the suffix and prefixes. Moving further, look forward. Do not look back. You will only hear the recording once. Read what's coming in advance, not what you just did. There is no time for you to look back and see what mistakes have you made while the listening or the recording is still going on. If you are doing that, not only you made a mistake in the current question, but you are jeopardizing your whole test, which might lead you to failure. So, if you make a mistake in one question, move on. There are 39 more to score. Yes? If you, it's okay if you're not scoring a perfect nine bands, but if you're jeopardizing your approach at that moment, you will definitely not even get a six. So, look forward, not backward. Do not check your answers while the recording is being played. Use keywords to keep up. Every question has a keyword. Find that keyword, and when in the recording you hear that, you know that the real battle is about to be coming. So, read the keywords in the questions very thoroughly. Do not get stressed. Stay focused. Stress and focus don't go hand in hand. If you are being nervous, if you are being afraid, what it does is it increases your heart rate, which lowers your testosterone level. At that moment, you need that splash of testosterone, so that you are in your I would say I call it war mode. Yes, that mode has I have extreme focus, hyper focus, I would say. So do not get stressed. It's just an exam. For section 3 and 4, close your eyes and visualize. For section 1 and 2, use the keywords. Use them whenever they're repeated in the conversation, in the recording, you know what to do. And know before the exam, know and remember, read the questions as many times as possible. Mark the keywords, mark the nouns, mark the names, mark the places, marks the thing. And whenever these things are coming in the recording, you know what to do. Now we come to the part of visualization. As you can see in the picture, there's a car. Yes, it seems like a very old car. And the color is a bit of orangish. Yeah. Now, if you look below, you will see the headlights. You will see the basic geometry of the car, and you can see the rims. So when you are visualizing it, the first thing I'll narrate. For example, if I'm narrating this car, the car looks old. It's an older model. Looks like it's Russian in nature because Russians had those kind of cars in the past, preferably also Soviet Union, of course. Then the rims of the car is yellow and the center is being made of silver. The bumper is shiny. The windshields are clear. And the headlight is made up of two bulbs each. So that makes it four bulbs per two headlights. Then the geometry is very clean. It resembles like a pentagon or something like that. The curves are not visible. The geometry is very straight and angled. Yes, the ground clearance is quite a bit. Then the car looks maintained. So when I tell these details, when I'm narrating these details, what does it show you? Do you get to see some car like that? Yes, you might not guess the right model, but you will see the car with these details, subtle details. So visualize when you're visualizing, observe every day, practice observations every day. Even if you see a water bottle, visualize it. Okay, the bottle is lustrous, the bottle is new, the bottle is scratched, the bottle is made from recycled plastic, the brand, the pricing. Yes, how you feel when you hold it, when you touch it. Is it smooth? The texture is smooth or coarse. So when you visualize the subtle details, the picture becomes clearer. And never lose your focus. Focus in detail, and this comes with practice. Practice and more practice, and the grind. After you listen, use the time. Yes, once the recordings have been done, do just one thing. Check, check, and check again. Or read ahead if there's another recording which has to be played. For section 1 and 2, you have to check four things. The first is the instructions, the number of words, one word only, two word only, one word and a number only. Yeah? Check the instruction because those instruction is the only thin line which is holding you between getting a good score and making a bad one. For sections 3 and 4, check your answer matches the meaning of the question fills in the first thing. Check the part of speech. Check whether the answer is a noun or verb. Check the tenses. Check whether it's grammatically correct or not. If in the recording the question is the thing is singular, but in the question you think that this might be I should use plural, use that. Yeah, you shouldn't write singular when the plural is needed, right? It makes it senseless. So remember this, and always read the questions as many times as possible with a full mind. So this would be all for the section, the part one of IELTS introduction and listening module. I hope this session was fruitful to you all the best for everyone who's preparing for this exam. See you tomorrow, same time. Thank you and have a great day.